Bonjour mes élèves, welcome to our third and final lesson about the subjunctive, but we're all excited that it's our last one. Today we're learning a new category of when to use the subjunctive, and that is for expressions of doubt, disbelief, and uncertainty. And then we'll also learn 4 more verbs that are irregular and how to conjugate them in the subjunctive. These will be aller, pouvoir, savoir, and vouloir. Today's lesson, pretty straightforward. We've got 2 major topics. So let's start with what are expressions of doubt, disbelief, and uncertainty. These are all expressions that have to do with something that you are unsure of or that you don't definitively know. That's why they use the subjunctive. Because remember the subjunctive we said in our first video, that is used for things that are uncertain, things that are your own subjective opinion. If you do know something and you're very positive about it, then it would be like a fact. And so you would use the indicative, which is every other tense that we've learned so far, rather than the subjunctive, which is what you use for when things get a little bit iffy. So here are some examples of expressions of doubt, disbelief, and uncertainty that will use the subjunctive. Douter que, to doubt that. Ne pas croire que, not to believe that. Ne pas penser que, not to think that. Il est douteux que, it is doubtful that. Il est impossible que, it is impossible that. Il n'est pas certain que, it is uncertain that. Il n'est pas sûr que, it is not sure that. Il n'est pas vrai que, it is untrue that. So notice that for each of these we have the que at the end, and then we have it's uncertain, it's not sure, it's untrue, it's impossible. So things where you're doubting what you're saying, or you don't really believe it fully, or you're not 100% certain. So some examples of how these phrases can easily change between the subjunctive and the indicative include Il est impossible que je fasse un marathon. So here the word impossible, that's doubt, disbelief, uncertainty, it's impossible. And so we have the subjunctive here, je fasse. So it's impossible that I do a marathon. However, if you say Il est possible que je fais un marathon, here with possible, it's something that is certain, right? It is possible. So we'll use the indicative tense here. So instead of fast, we would use fait, which is our regular present tense conjugation of faire. Another way this would happen, je doute que tu sois triste. Here, because I'm doubting, you use the subjunctive, sois triste. However, je sais que tu es triste. Now I'm going from doubting it and using the subjunctive to knowing it and using the indicative. So be careful, you do want to remember these of doubt, disbelief, and uncertainty, but there will be times where things will try to trick you. And they'll get rid of the ne pas here, for example. And if you get rid of the ne pas on a lot of these expressions, it has to change from the subjunctive to the indicative. And then lastly, we're going to learn 4 more verbs in the irregular. Last time we talked about avoir, faire, and être, so go back and check that video out if you need to. In the meantime, aller is also irregular in the subjunctive, and that is conjugated j'aille, tu ailles, il, elle aille, nous allions, vous alliez, il, elle aille. So again, irregular for the normal pattern of the subjunctive, but we still have some of our familiar patterns like e, es, e, ions, iz, ent. In pouvoir, je puisse, tu puisses, il, elle puisse, nous puissions, vous puissiez, il, elle puisse. And then our last 2 irregular subjunctive verbs, savoir, je sache, tu saches, il, elle sache, this is always a fun one to say. Nous sachions, vous sachiez, il, elle sache. Et finalement, vouloir, je veuille, tu veuilles, il, elle veuille, nous voulions, vous vouliez, il, elle veuille. So once again, just make sure that you have the conjugations and the expressions written down in your notes so that we can start practicing tomorrow in class.